Okay, so here I'm going to just go through a little bit about your midterm, just to help you out if you have any questions about the different parts. There's one additional element that I've added from the handout that I gave you, and I mentioned it, I think, in class, that I want you to identify valency as well. So we're going to look at a few different things here. We're going to look at the identifying word classes, phrases, clause elements, valency, and then I'm also going to ask you to look at one word that's used in different ways where you have to identify the word class for it. And then you're going to have to write a few sentences with specific features, and then I'm going to give you some extra credit. So let's look at the first section, and that's identifying word classes. So here, I'm going to underline words, and you've got to identify them. And really, it's pretty straightforward, just using the classification for word classes that we used. I'm going to ask you to do this. Now here we have Thomas Jefferson left Americans a marvelous legacy. The word left, we know that's a verb, but we're also going to call it a lexical verb. And then we have a determiner. But you can also call it an article, an adjective, and then a noun. So really that's all you've got to do for that. Let's take a look at the answers that I came up with and see if you agree. So notice for that first one, lexical verb, determiner, or article, whichever you prefer. It's really, more specifically, it's an article, but it's also still a determiner, an adjective, and noun. You can see the other ones. Notice this one here, I called it the genitive of a noun. Either one is going to be okay. Noun. The primary auxiliary verb is have, and you can shorten that to be P-A-V if you want. And then political is an adjective. Number 3, the spirit of a book can't be captured on a computer monitor. Noun, preposition, the primary main verb, and that's the verb to be. Oh, you know what? I'm wrong here. Hold on. That's not right. That is going to be a primary auxiliary verb as well. It's not the main verb. And then on a computer monitor. Now here, and I know a few of you have mentioned this, and I think you raised a good point. You're saying, look, I know it's a computer, I know it's a noun, but it's also really acting as an adjective. So what I'd ask you to do, you can either just call it a noun, or you can say it's a noun acting as an adjective, and I think that will be good. And then finally, new is an adjective, increase is a lexical verb, preposition of, and arthritis is a noun. So you're going to have 4 questions just like that. Now, the second part is you have to identify the phrases, and I wrote them out here very nicely, but you can actually, what I would recommend is you can just sort of put brackets around the things, and then you can just identify it. If you want, you can use the abbreviations, NP for noun phrase. So, in that example, John's a noun phrase, 8 is a verb phrase, without us is a prepositional phrase. Notice in the instructions, you only have to give me 3 phrases. You don't have to give me all of them, although if you want to, that's fine. Let's compare what I have to what you have and see if you agree. All right, and now we have, not surprisingly, we're going to have a lot of noun phrases. I did all of them in case you only picked 3 of them. And actually the last 3 only have 3, so that makes it about all you can do. And I hope that you agree with those. Let's take a look at the next section. And notice the way this is going to work is I'm going to give you just one set of 4 sentences, and you're going to sort of identify all these different elements. The next thing is going to be the clause elements. And here what I would recommend is just do like a little slash. And then you want to identify there's a subject, the verb, This is our indirect object and our direct object. All right? Now, so again, notice you can do it the way I'm doing it here, just handwriting it. You don't have to write out all this stuff the way I did. I just wanted to make it clear. Now let's compare my answers to yours. All right. And then the next section will be the valency. Now I've left up what I had from the last one just because I think it makes it easier. Because if you see there's an indirect and a direct object, you know there's only one type of valency that can have that. And that's the ditransitive. The good news is I gave you that handout that you can bring with you to the midterm. So you can use that handout at the midterm. Because I know sometimes the transitives and all that can get a little confusing. All right? But now let's see what you got for all of these. One of them I think is a little bit trickier. Okay, we got ditransitive, copular, monotransitive, and again monotransitive. This number 11 here to me was a little bit trickier because it's in a passive voice. So it's actually someone who's capturing the spirit of the book. Oops, I think I hit the button. Okay. So here, this is really your direct object, but because it's in the passive voice, it is now operating as your subject. But it's still a monotransitive verb in the passive voice. So you have to be careful about that. The next part, this is a lot of fun. You can be as creative as you want. You just have to come up with sentences that incorporate whatever it is I'm asking for, and then what you need to do is make sure that you include that with your in the sentence and underline it. All right? Now I'm going to show you mine, and you can compare what you have. The very funny comedian. Notice it's got the determiner, adverb, adjective, and noun. All right? And again, here it's a passive voice with a ditransitive verb. She was given a book by her mother. In this case, you could have also said a book was given to her by her mother. Yeah, I guess you could still say that. I like this one better. But that other way is okay too. As long as you have a ditransitive verb and you've got the indirect object. A phrasal verb is one of the ones I'm asking here. And then a primary auxiliary along with the semimodal. Those are a little tricky. Here's your semimodal. And this, B, is your primary auxiliary. So I'm going to ask you to do 4 things like that. This one I think is probably, I don't know if it's the easiest, but it's certainly the simplest. You just have to identify what role is this playing here. And this word long acts, it is an adjective in fact here. It's a verb here. It's an adverb here. And then this longing is a noun. And I think, and some folks have mentioned this in the discussion, asking about verbs acting as nouns and all that. But in this case, I think it really is a noun. Longing is a noun. And then I'm going to do some extra credit for you if you'd like. And that is, I'm doing this because we're just introducing that this week, but the verb variation. So you're going to identify tense, modal, the voice, and then the aspect. And here, see if you want, you can see what I got. And you can see all those different things. Now I'm going to tell you this. If, and I mentioned this in the lecture too, if you don't put simple aspect, that's okay. If you don't put active voice, that's okay. If you don't have it, I mean, I'm going to assume that's what you mean, because those are sort of the default. So if you don't say passive voice, I'm going to assume you mean active voice. I also want to make a note here that there may be other extra credit in addition to or instead of this, where I might ask you some questions like we had in the discussion board. And some of you have been giving some great answers to that, so that will be useful. Like about different errors that English language learners are making. All right? And now finally, here are the concepts I recommend that you study. This is in chapters, really it's chapters 2 through 6. And I would say word classes, phrase types, clause elements, valency, noun clauses, multi-word verbs, and verb variations. I hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions.